Welcome to Brands Hatch for the qualifying session. 3 sessions almost rolled into one ahead of the 2 races for the Sprint Cup tomorrow. Track conditions very good indeed. The sun has been trying to shine all day. Sometimes it's through the clouds, sometimes it's not. John Watson alongside me in the commentary box. We're nice and warm as the sun comes through the window, but there's that brisk northeasterly breeze that's been pelting the circuit all day, just making conditions a little interesting. But the track temperature, it was 20 degrees before pre-practice too, but only 13 this morning, so it's getting warmer and warmer.
Yes, in fact, temperatures have picked up a little bit. There's still that bitingly cold wind blowing across the racetrack. Has been here all day. But actually walking to the commentary booth, which is on the other side of the pit complex, and you have to climb virtually the Empire State Building to get into the commentary booth, it's actually slightly warmer than it was, I feel, maybe a couple of hours ago.
Certainly is. But looking at the track, famous circuit, the Grand Prix circuit at Brands Hatch, listed as 9 corners, a few kinks in between, but 3.915 kilometres around the lap, and that wonderful loop, the Grand Prix loop, out through the country.
Old school, a great racetrack, difficult to overtake on. It's one of those racetracks that everybody who comes to it for the first time goes, wow, why can we not have more of this? And rather than these modern circuits with their wide open spaces, loads of runoff area, this is a challenge. And I think everybody here this weekend is enjoying that challenge.
And look down over the pit lane, even that's not straight. It's in a big arc leading, as we look back up it towards Clark Curve 84. This was the crew, one of the 3 cars from HTP Motorsport, one of the 3 Mercedes that ran so well down at Misano in the opening round on the Adriatic coast of Italy. And 84 was the winning car. Franck Pereira and Maxi Boot, quite a lineup. Will they get pole this afternoon? It's going to be tight, very close indeed.
We had 20 cars covered by just under a second in FP2 earlier today. I anticipated we'd have those 20 cars covered by less than a second, but where do you look at the 63 Lamborghini Mirko Bortolotti, Engelhardt, Christian Engelhardt, winners at Monza, obviously a choice for a front row position, but you could say that about maybe a dozen or more cars, and it's just going to be more about getting that one clear lap on your freshest set of Pirelli tyres than it is about being maybe out and out quick.
And one of the beauties of the Blancpain GT Series is how many manufacturers are competitive. Right down to pit exit, we've got the Mercedes. Alongside, we've got the Lamborghinis, then the Bentleys. Further up, you've got the McLarens, 4 Ferraris in the race, and so on. And the Audis, we've talked about them not quite being on form, but through both 3 practice sessions, they were working closer and closer to the front, sometimes at the very top of the charts. But fastest of all actually came towards the end of that last session was the BMW row racing BMW M6. Of course, we saw that take the biggest win of last year, the Spa 24 hours, but hadn't really shown. And then suddenly, how much of that was down to fresh rubber, we'll find out.
I mean, entirely down to fresh rubber, but still a very strong job by the row racing team. I mean, we know that that's a car that has got exceptional handling, good balance. And on a circuit like Brands Hatch, you need good handling and good balance. You don't want a nervous, twitchy car. You want a car that you can lean on the outside rear wheel, open the throttle, and know that the car is going to be with you. It's not going to twitch or fidget around, which it can be the bane of a lap here. 1 corner wrong, that's the lap destroyed.
And one corner that certainly was catching a few people out, but one team in particular, it's Sterling's. We were commentating all through the morning about how get over the curb on the exit and get into a twitch and you'll snap across the track. A few drivers got away with big twitches, but unfortunately for Marco Hedester-Cangas in the Writer Young Stars Lamborghini Gallardo, he bottomed the car, went over the curbs, down into the dip, and then it snapped to the left, and that is now declared out of the meeting. So neither he nor his teammate Caitlin Wood will get to play. They had stepped up in this prize drive from the GT4 European Series to this. It was a big step up, and certainly the Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit is a circuit that takes no prisoners, and I'm afraid they've been caught out.
Absolutely not. The Sterling's corner, it's a kind of an innocuous corner in itself, but the curbing on the outside is an uneven curbing, and if you let the outside rear wheel drop over into what would be the beginning of the gravel trap, inevitably the car is going to more or less go 90 degrees and it's going to turn sharp left, and you've got a barrier very close to the side of the track, and that's precisely what happened to the Lamborghini Gallardo. Great disappointment for that team, for the Writer team, as well as for its 2 drivers. Just too much damage. Right hand side of the car, it got the front first, then it got the rear second, and that was too much damage.
Now, we've talked about the marks at the front, but Bentley up and down, but let's hear with Maxime Soulet.
Maxime may not be as fast as you may not have been as fast as you wanted to be in free practice. What's the strategy here?
Just flat out. I mean, we took it really easy in free practice 1 and free practice 2 with the tires, and now we're going to put on some new rubber, so we'll see where we end up.
What effect do you think this new tire is going to have?
I hope a lot. That's what we need, but we'll see.
Good luck. Thank you.
Well, if you've been running on the tires that you carried over from Misano, which is part of the regulation, and then maybe you had another set that you've done a lot of running on, you're doing your homework primarily for the 2 1-hour events that we're going to see tomorrow, that's Sunday. But when you put on a brand new set of tires, inevitably it will just transform the message that the car is giving you, what you get through the seat of your pants, through your hands, through your feet. It's a bit of a false situation because it won't be like that throughout the 1-hour race or between the 2 pit stops, but at least it can give you a time. And at Brands Hatch, just as in property, Bruce, position, position, position. That's what it's about here.
I thought you were about to say times can go up as well as down. But let's go down to the Lamborghini world and hear from the driver, one of the winning trio from Monza, Mirko Bortolotti.
Mirko, you proved this track is a really good track for Lamborghini, but what's the plan here?
Well, what's the plan? It's a qualifying session. We all know that the qualifying is really important on this track because it's really difficult to overtake. So ideally the plan is to be as far on top as possible.
Now, can you reveal if you're on new tires or old tires?
Well, everybody has to start on new tires from the qualifying on. We have 4 sets of tires for the weekend. So I think everybody is more or less on the same strategy now. And obviously for qualifying you use new tires, that's clear.
And now you're going to be doing Q2 and Q3. That's really vital. Do you think you're going to make it there?
Well, Q3, ideally yes. I think we have the pace, but first of all you have to get into it. I don't want to keep put things for granted. We have to work and try to qualify ourselves first. And once we are there, we will try to get the maximum out.
Thank you. Good luck.
Clearly deep in concentration, very focused. Robin Freehan returning, having had a leg or a knee injury when he was doing a bit of training, doing some running, and he did a ligament or damage to the knee ligament, so he looks like he's perky and quite content. And he obviously he's left the crutches at home, so he'll be in the car, no doubt, trying to get back into the rhythm of the Blancpain GT Sprint Series, having missed the outing he was hoping for in Misano.
Yeah, well, his teammate Stuart Leonard is the number 1 driver in that car. Just to reiterate, we had 3 qualifying sessions, very quick fire. The first 7 minutes for the number 1 driver, the driver listed as number 1 in each of the cars. Then we have a little gap, and then 8-minute second session. At that point, with the number 2 driver in the car, we have the top, it should be 17 cars. Maybe it will only be top 16 because we've now lost, we had 33 cars going out, but it's all about getting out into that final qualifying session. We saw Robin Freehan smiling, sitting on top of a box. He can't run away. Dakota has caught him.
Robin, you're looking pretty relaxed. How's your knee?
It's right. Driving, I don't feel anything. Getting out in and out of the car is a bit more difficult, but it's all right.
Do you think it's all that adrenaline pumping through you?
In the race with the pit stop, it should be all right. With the adrenaline, of course. I did a pit stop yesterday and it was just a bit painful, but it will be alright for tomorrow, I'm sure.
What are your hopes for qualifying?
FP2 went pretty well, even though we were P9, but we still had something to look at the data, so we found some corners we can gain on. So we just hope for a top 5 and do a good quali race and hopefully score some good points in the main race.
Thank you.
Always got a bit of a smile on his face, hasn't Robin? But he just seems so capable in any sort of car you can put him in.
Oh, absolutely. And of course, great to having him back in the championship. As we look at Michael Meadows in the Mercedes, and that's a very strong lineup. His teammate, in particular, Raffaele Marciello, is a real hot rod and not afraid to stick the nose of that ACA Mercedes-Benz down the inside to take a challenge for position as the track now goes green.
Now goes green, the first car out of the pit lane, 63. We heard from Mirko Bortolotti talking to Dakota. Christian Engelhardt at the wheel, of course, still buoyed by that victory along Bertolini down at Monza in the endurance round, but this is Sprint Cup time. This is getting the grid, the absolutely crucial grid, ahead of the first of the 2 races tomorrow, the qualifying race in the morning. So clear track, but will it still be clear when he comes round to start that first flying lap? It's a very short session, 7 minutes in all.
Well, you've got already, 6-7 cars on track, and what they need is to get one clear flying lap. What they may not get is the people that are hanging back for maybe a minute or a minute and a half. They'll just leave the track at the point when this group of cars is coming around to begin their flying lap. So it'll be managing traffic in qualification. That's going to be probably the key to where you will end up on the grid for the first of tomorrow's 2 races.
And what we tend to see is those that want to get their times in early and those late. It's 15 minutes, not 7. I've gone completely mad. Getting a chance to look at the Kessel Racing Run TP12 entry, the Piti Birok-Bandi, the Thai driver sitting on board, obviously needs some components called wheels. They're coming out of the back of the garage and being fitted. So clearly he's hoping to do his time when the track maybe empties out towards the end.
Yeah, I mean, that will be, the new tyres for sure you're going to pick up time, but the key to a quick lap, regardless of what rubber you're on, is getting that clear lap. And some drivers manage to do that consistently, and other drivers manage to always find traffic. So in a sense, it's down to you, as we see the 63 Lamborghini coming through. It didn't come through clearways particularly quickly, but it needed to get a clean run. So Christian Engelhardt behind the wheel comes up into Paddock Bend, and the very thing he didn't want was the Thai-sponsored Ferrari making its way rather slowly, completely spoils the lap. So, that's the frustration.
And Christian had hung back. He was the first one out of the pits, but in fact the orange Lamborghini from Orange 1 Team Lazarus went past way before him at the end of the lap, so he'd hung back hoping to get the space. Let's look at the eyes of Christian Engelhardt as he's looking around, trying now to make space. He's backed off. He's got the Thai Ferrari right in behind him in the yellow and blue livery, Piti Birok-Bandi. So now it's just about, well, what will he be doing? He's scrapped this lap, John.
And all he can do is just make his way around, not put too much energy into the tyre, but try and keep tyre temperature up, and then hope that when he gets to clearways at the end of this lap, he will get a clear run through clearways onto the main straight and then go through the process. But with 33 cars, 32 cars, all out on track, more or less at a similar time, it is really tough to try and get that clear lap. So, as I say, it's about making your own opportunities.
Well, let's take a look.
Matt Schull
is one of the Pro-Am runners. In fact, he and his teammate Daniel Karvitz, 14th overall at Misano. But importantly for them, that was victory in the Pro-Am class. So riding around the back of the circuit, we're going into what used to be called, probably still is, Pilgrim's Drop, and then up Hawthorne's Hill at the far side.
Yes, so the bottom of the hill is a slight compression, then you have to wait to see the apex. It's quite a long way around. Again, because there's an incline going into the corner, it's not easy to pick it up. Short straight then into Westfield, bumpy on the inside line, easy to overrun on the exit, then down into Dingledell, and he's backed out of it again big time. Oh, there's a car coming through. Yes, there is one of the Mercedes. So at least he's observant, and you have to say well done, because so many drivers, particularly at that part of track, a lot of concentration required. He saw the car coming in his mirrors, he backed out of it, and a good job.
Well, talking of backing out, we had Christian Engelhardt with the Thai Ferrari pulling out in front of him, and he's stuck on its tail. Now he's hung back, and I think his next lap, it's not as though he's really trying to build up to a quick lap at the moment. 15-minute session, qualifying 1, we can see just under 11 minutes remaining. So traffic a little bit busy, but for Christian Engelhardt, that's not him, that's the sister car, that's the 19, that should be at the wheel of that. The rest of the Lamborghini should be Ezekiel Perez compound, but we're looking for quick times. None have come so far.
Well, they're not going to get quick times because we've got effectively a traffic jam all the way around this 2.4 mile, 3.9 kilometre racetrack. Quickest lap currently is just a 26.5. That's just been set on the last flying lap.
So it would be Romain Monti in the Santilok Racing Audi from the Santilok Junior team. Fastest time so far this weekend, 1 minute 23.972 seconds, set by Jess
There's
Crone.
the problem.
Traffic.
How do you find a clear bit of racetrack? How can you find... And that, every driver that will come in at the end of the session will be saying the same thing. Traffic. Andrew Watson in the 59 McLaren, he's now gone quickest, 125.2. He's found a little bit of clear air, and he's got an over a second advantage, and it's literally changing almost as each car comes across the start-finish line.
Well, we've got one of the Lamborghinis in the pits. It might be 63. I hope there isn't a problem. We've still got 5 or 6 other cars just waiting to come out, not including the 84 Mercedes. We'll look for that. Is there a problem for that Lamborghini that seems to be limping around? Number 63 in the pits. we'll keep an eye on that. Of course, that was the winning car at Monza, but the 26 Audi trying to get up the sharp end. It's down to 6th. As you say, blink of an eye ago, it was top of the time charts, but we need to get down, we reckon, into the low 1:23s, not maybe in Q1 or Q2, but certainly come Q3. We're expecting to get down to those times. The top half of the grid go through for the final part of that session, the final 10 minutes, quick fire, aiming for pole position.
So Andrew Watson still leading that, but Romain Monti now gone second quickest in the 26 Audi. There is the 63, so Christian Engelhardt has come in. And they're going to put the car back in the garage. That's strange. We've got 9 minutes remaining. Now, why they're doing that?
Yeah, well, the sister Lamborghini has come in and is parked alongside. One of the Bentleys is up on dollies, being wheeled back towards its garage, just being kept to that 45-degree angle. But you need to put your time on the board, and then you can start hanging back.
Number 1, Enzo Eid, currently showing 7th place. But of course, the time that is irrelevant. He will be looking to make some progress. Would appear to have had a reasonably good lap. He's got personal bests in 1st and 2nd sector. So, and he's coming in as well. So, I mean, okay, teams have gone out. They may have gone out in a set of tyres that they used towards the end of the second free practice session. They've got an idea of where the track is in relation. There's the 44 McLaren. That's young Lois Hazemans, son of Twan Hazemans, in 4th place. He's just probably cruising around looking for that opportunity, that clear part of racetrack.
Well, with Andrew Watson's best time of 1:25.2, almost identical time set by Romain Monti, these are still not quick times in comparison to this morning. Now the cars are starting to work a little bit of space on the circuit with about 8 of them in the pit lane. That means there should be 24 out on the circuit. Now we're in the 24s. Marcus Finkelhock in the number 2 Audi has just gone top. He didn't set the fastest first sector, but the second and third sectors are very good indeed. The 44 McLaren, Hazemans was 6th, he goes to 7th. Who's made the improvement? We've just suddenly have a bit of a change. Maxime Soulet up into 2nd place now. Andrew Watson pushed down to 3rd. Romain Monti down to 4th. McLaren's on the hunt. Hazemans now down to 8th. The times are really starting to change around. Halfway through the session, started 15 minutes on the clock, we're under 7.5.
Nice the way Hazemans just exited out of Sterling's. He ran the curb. He didn't try and pull the car back quickly. He just kept to the right, and then midway down to clearways, got the car over to the left, so comes across the start-finish line to see what 44 McLaren will do. His 7th place.
Minor improvement, went up 1 position, but importantly ahead of him, he has clear track. As he goes through paddock, it's clear the whole way up to Druids, the whole way back down to Graham Hill Bend, so he should have clear track for the rest of this lap. Now the fastest first segment of all has just been set by Maxime Soulet. David Fuminelli in the 42 McLaren also doing his best to match, but the 84 Mercedes from HTP Motorsport, this was the car that was dominant at Misano. Franck Pereira took it out, and it was brought home by none other than Maxi Book. But at the moment, that hasn't set a quick time. A lot of the pit time has been spent in the pit lane. Still time, but plenty to do it though.
Maxime Soulet, fastest overall first sector, fastest overall second sector. Got a clear track ahead of him. Will he go fastest overall? You want to put your money down? Absolutely guarantee you the Bentley will go at this point with just over 6 minutes of the session remaining. He will be quickest overall. Where will he be when the 6 minutes concludes?
Well, he's top 0.2 of a second clear. I think they might have expected a bit more than that, because that certainly looked fantastic. Fastest first and second sectors, his fastest final sector. Don't think he really got interrupted by traffic at the end. The ACA Mercedes ahead, pulled into pit lane ahead of him now, keeping an eye. This is on the 42 McLaren. David Fuminelli was 3rd, down to 5th. Young Italian, 25 years old, come on board this weekend because Nick Leventis injured himself and isn't able to compete, and so he has moved into the 42 alongside Scottish racer Lewis Williamson, at the moment sitting in 5th place.
Good. Looks good. Looks good in the exit weather, that will reflect in an improvement. 1:25.2 was that car's best time. Goes 1 place higher, 1:25.0, but we're not seeing times. Basically, we're still best time this morning at 1:23.9, best so far this afternoon. Maxime Soulet at a 24.5, so it's the best part of 0.6 of a second away. Watch this car, 88. This is going to be one that will, I would have thought, excite.
Yeah, 88 ASP Mercedes. Felix Sarai is on board, one of many recent single-seater converts across to GT racing, and certainly impressed us at the start of the season. Pink first sector, fastest of all. Green, his best second sector. He's in 6th. Is he going top? No, he goes up to 4th place. Wow, that's making that lap from Maxime Soulet look better than we thought. When he was only 0.2 quicker than anyone else, we thought that would be attacked. Felix Morales gave it a good shot, at 1 minute 24.796. Just to we keep having this bracket. Top how many covered by a second? At the moment, it's the top dozen down to Van Splunteren in one of the Tempto Racing Lamborghinis.
So we got BMW on track, and this is one of these cars. This is the 98, I think. Yes, it is. And BMW this morning, the 98 car, Jesse Krohn, fastest overall, 123.9. May not do that in the... Oh, big shunt coming out of Stirling. One of the McLarens, 44, massive shunt. This is going to be a red flag. They cannot continue.
Right, so that's Loris Hazelmans. Philip Eng looking at the screens. Now, we had about a dozen cars, if not more, sitting in the pit lane, maybe waiting to come back out, but, well, with 4 minutes on the clock. The clock has stopped with the red flag coming out, but that's the second big drop on the exit of Stirling's. And as you said, John, you get it wrong on the right, it fires you across the left, and it's now sitting in the track. So the 44 McLaren, 10th fastest at the time, with Loris Hazelmans on board. That's going to need more than a bit of spit and polish. So for Johnny Kane, will it even be okay to go out to race tomorrow? Will it qualify?
Well, we know they could repair the car heavily damaged in Monza. That we wait to see. But I'd actually made a comment on Loris Hazelmans a couple of laps earlier. I thought he really exited out of Stirling. He did it. He ran the curb, but he kept the car straight. Whatever happened this time, we do not know. But that is a heavy impact. The left front of the car absolutely trashed, and Loris Hazelmans hopefully will be just catching his breath. An impact like that, it just knocks the oxygen out of your lungs. You take a few minutes just to recover from it and just refocus, and then hopefully step out of the car. And so everything now, track has gone red.
So it's back to a replay. This is the aftermath of the incident.
Hard to see how it started, but much further down the racetrack than that we saw in the freeze at FP2. So the front of the car absolutely shredded. Now, whether that's structural damage, the beauty of the McLaren is that they've got this thing called a monocell, which is a carbon fibre monocoque, and then you can add on the tubular structure which holds the suspension and the radiators and whatever else.
Well, we've already found out after FP2 that the car that went in there earlier, Marco Helistakangas in the Reiter Young Stars, that Lamborghini is out for the weekend. Baz Linders had half a smile on his face earlier when I saw him. Doesn't have one now. He's running, of course, that McLaren program for Straka Racing. 4 cars are here, but clearly one of them is not in the condition in which it was sent out, and that was Loris Hazelmans in the number 44. The 2 orange ones, 59 and 58, are fine. 59 with Andrew Watson is third fastest. So, top at the moment is Andy Soucek, and he is down to talk with Dakota.
Andy, early days, you're looking very quick on track. What's the track conditions like at the moment?
I was expecting to go faster because we didn't have new tires in free practice 2, so I thought maybe we can put a 23 on the dashboard, but it's all I could do. The track was a little bit slippery. I didn't really feel the confidence that I had in free practice 2, but it was good enough for claiming the best position out in Q1. So we'll see what the others do in Q2, and if we don't need the second set of tires, we maybe keep that one for the race, but I think people will improve the lap time for sure.
Good luck. Thank you very much.
Well, it's going to take a little time to clear away the debris on the exit of Stirling's, the McLaren, and all the carbon fibre, plus a load of earth has been distributed all over the racetrack. Get that car removed. We've got just under 4 minutes of this qualifying session remains, and one would assume that when the track goes green, there will be sufficient time for everybody to get out, do their out lap, do a flying lap, and then more or less the checkered flag will be shown. If you're one of the very first cars out, you might just sneak a second one.
Well, I was going to say that should favour the teams down towards pit exit, and as I look to my right from the commentary position, HTB Motorsport are closest to the exit. They've got the chance.
Bentley are not far away either.
Then come the 2 Grasser Lamborghinis, then the 2 Bentleys, then we go up to the 4 ACA ASP Mercedes. We briefly just saw a shot of the Spirit of Race Ferrari. That's next up, and then if you're at the far end, which is the McLarens, it's not going to help. So a real traffic jam as you look up at the line of 31 cars now, we think, with the faller. Estimated restart time in
10 minutes.
10 minutes. Will they make it? So Daniel Ucandela looking at the screens down in ASP land. Some of the drivers don't quite know what to do with themselves. It's the same with the crews. You get this hiatus. It's a short, fast session. It's 15 minutes of action, 7 minutes to stop, 15 minutes of action, and they've been thrown out of kilter. Alexander Matchell Alex, as it says on his helmet, waiting to go. Of course, they took the Pro-Am honours down in Misano in the opening round, and Rinaldi racing bright green and yellow Ferrari.
So it's always unfortunate when an incident occurs where the red flag is thrown and you've got just under 4 minutes remaining. Everybody, they're building up to the last possible moment to try and get a time in, because ordinarily the track constantly improves with people running on it. So now that plan has been thrown into disarray. Of course, thoughts are now just waiting for see Loris Hazemans getting him back to the pits and understanding really what happened. We only caught the very tail of the car's contact. So we'll find out more, I hope, shortly.
Hold on, let's go down to the pits, because Dakota has got Mirko Bortolotti.
Mirko, you seem quite confident, but you're not in the top 20 so far.
No, we are not, but this is a part of strategy. This is nothing related to anything else. We took this kind of strategy for Q1, and we will try to go for Q2, try to qualify ourselves for Q3.
Come on, tell me a bit more. What is the strategy?
Well, it's strategy that we decided with the team. So if you want to know the answer, you should ask the team.
Well, let's see how you do in Q2 and Q3. Good luck.
Thank you.
What a great answer, Mirko. I like it.
It's become a good game. This is real sport down in the pits. Mirko Bortolotti,
You know,
we commented earlier, he can afford to have a smile on his face.
But I think I've interviewed Mirko a couple of times, and he's a lovely guy and great to have a conversation with, but there's a really steely side to him. And when you sort of cross over, as Dakota did there, asking, what's your strategy? Suddenly, it's adios, my friends. If you want to know, go and join or ask the team.
Antonio Felix da Costa, Philippe Eng, wondering what's going on, because again, as we said earlier, John, the HGP Mercedes had come in. They weren't really going for a very, very quick time. And then we've got the Lamborghinis. They too came in. Mirko Bortolotti not giving us the clearest of answers. But let's just reiterate what exactly happens in qualifying. Driver 1 goes in the first 15 minutes, driver 2 in the second 15 minutes, and then their combined times, we take the top half of the field for Q3. But that seems some way off now. For most of these teams, it's about focusing their minds on being able to go out, because if they haven't yet set a decent time, and it has to be aggregated with the Q2 sessions, they've got to get that flying lap in. It's absolutely imperative.
I mean, Mirko was
from the outset.
Yeah, Mirko was slightly. It's just going to take maybe good fortune. I don't want to say good luck for the 63 Lamborghini. They don't need to be lingering outside, in my opinion, the top 17, because no matter what they do in the second session of qualifying, if their first qualifying session isn't sufficiently quick, then they could miss the cut. I doubt they will, but you just want to get that banker lap in the remaining, just under 4 minutes of session.
We haven't talked too much about Mercedes this weekend. Let's go down and hear from Dominic Baumann with Dakota.
Dominic, now, is this a good track for the Mercedes?
It looks like not, so but the practice was okay. We struggle a bit with track time for Jimmy, because he has never been here before, and also me, I have to give some track time to him, and it's not so easy for us, especially for our car, but it looks for Mercedes it's quite strong, on the longer stints it's quite good, so we will see now in Q2 and Q3.
Where would you realistically like to qualify?
As far to the front as possible, for sure, but we will see. We had some new tires in practice too, which was okay. We changed something on the car, something on driving. We will see. They have no clue where to end up.
Cheers, good luck.
Interesting there, John. Maybe suggesting it's not a great circuit with Mercedes, but certainly Misano was, because they were all at the front end.
I think that Dominic Baumann is always a very understated guy. He's not going to come out and say, yeah, we're going to be the quickest car right here. He will always look to the half empty rather than the half full glass situation. But remember, the fourth quickest car this morning was the number 84 Mercedes-Benz, Max Buch and Frank Pereira, and they were within a tenth of a second of the quickest lap overall. But where the Mercedes we know is very good is on those longer runs. The difficulty that if you don't qualify well is no matter how good your car is, it is hard to pass at Brands. And if you've got a grid, maybe the top 20 covered by just under a second, which we saw this morning, then if you're outside of the top 3 or 4 rows, you want to pray for a mega pit stop, and that even, with the level of pit stop quality we're seeing these days, you're not going to make a huge amount out of that. So it's very difficult to make progress. And nobody's going to say, oh, there's number 85 or number 84 or whatever that happened to be, the Mercedes. Come on through. This is a race, and you've got to find a way past your competitors. They're not going to open the door and say, after you, Dominic.
Now look down to that pit lane. It's very, very narrow indeed. But let's hear from Audi, the driver who was fastest in P1 with Dakota, Dries Van Toor.
Dries, you were really fast in FP1. Can you keep that pace up in qualifying?
Well, let's hope, of course. Q2 and Q3 is about to go green. But yeah, of course, FP1 and FP2 actually as well were pretty good. The car is feeling good out there, so let's hope we can get it up there.
You look a bit nervous. How are you feeling?
Well, of course, you're always nervous before qualifying. It's one of the most important things, or one of the important things of the weekend, especially here in Brands. You cannot really overtake that easy. So it's of course really important to get up in the top 5, and that's what we're going to aim for. And yeah, let's hope I can get in there.
Now tell me, how does a young guy like yourself like an old school racetrack?
Because everywhere, if you go to Paul Ricard or any track like that, when you go off, you can have a cup of tea when you go off. And here, when you crash, like we have seen already now again, your car is pretty much, it's a lot of damage. So you don't want that, and that's why I like the track. If you want to make one little mistake, you go off, and you're this close to the wall. So that's what makes it cool.
Thank you, Winkle, for appearing in the background. Thank you very much, Dries. Let's see how you go.
Thanks a lot.
So it's good to see the youngest member of the team being the most responsible and the oldest one quite not so.
Yeah, but obviously, boys on holiday, boys on tour, have fun. Interesting, just looking at Dries, he turned up a year ago in Blancpain GT Sprint and Endurance, and he looked his age. All of a sudden, in the course of a year, he's suddenly just taken on a look of a more mature, a more grown-up racing driver. And just in that interview, it became obvious that there's a lot more thought behind the young man than there would have been a year ago.
Well, while we have this hiatus, let's have a look at the standings. It's the number 8 Bentley, Andy Soucek, we heard from him earlier, fastest by 0.2 of a second. And if nobody can make a really good scrabble towards the top of the charts, that could really benefit them. Marcus Finkelhock, he was second fastest, the number 2 Audi. Andrew Watson going well, the 59 McLaren in third, and fourth was Felix Sarais, looking very feisty. I think there's more to come from the 88 Mercedes crew. So it's very, very packed indeed at the top end. And it's going to be quick fire when the session gets underway. Just under 4 minutes remaining for them to do an outlap, set a flying lap, because some of the cars, including that number 1 car, Audi, way down below where they should be, and they've got to get themselves up top. Here's an onboard lap with a 333 Ferrari.
Yeah, we're coming into paddock pen, hanging way to the left. Your body, your instinct is to come in early, but stayed out, did the right thing. Then you've gone through the compression and paddock up the hill, one of the 2 major overtaking parts of this Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit. Run the curb on the inside, don't get too wide on the left, because that will catch you out. Then back again into Graham Hill Bend. Watch on the outside, there are sensors on the outside that will tell race director if you've been a naughty boy. You can hover around the middle of the racetrack, maybe a little bit more to the right if you choose the 333 Ferrari, hanging in more to the left side. Not maybe the quickest way through, but maybe the more comfortable way. But now on to, which is normally the quickest part of the racetrack, down Pilgrim's Dip, up the hill into Hawthorns. Big commitment through here. You can actually carry a lot more speed than you might initially think. Then the short straight, the break into Westfield, bumpy at the apex over those curbs. Then again another drop down into Dingledale. Then you look up skyward, you're looking at treetops, not looking at the racetrack. Again, anticipate the turn at Sheen Curve, then the short sprint into Stirling's. Curb on the inside, you want to try and get that. Be careful on the outside, because that's now caught out 2 cars, one of which has been retired. That was the Lamborghini Gallardo, and secondly the 44 McLaren of Loris Hazeman's. That car will be returned to the pits through clearways, clean exit. Let the car actually just find its own natural path across the start-finish line.
Thanks very much, Watty, for talking us that lap with the Rinaldi Racing Ferrari. The circuit is still being cleared up, all the debris having to be swept clear. So it's time to go back down into the pit lane. And we're going to hear from one of the drivers of the number 90 Mercedes. It's Raffaele Marciello with Dakota.
Raffaele, Now Misano seemed to be the track for you. How do you fare around Brands Hatch?
No, I felt quite good around here. I think after FP2 we did a good FP2, so let's try to finish at least in top 5 in quali and tomorrow have a good race.
Now the sun is starting to come out, but we're on a red flag right now. Are you nervous to get in the car?
No, I'm fine. I mean, there is still a bit of time, I think 10-20 minutes, so there is no rush and still a lot of time to go.
You're very chill. Good luck.
Thank you.
A very Italian shrug or three there.
Well,
wasn't it?
Raffaele, you know, okay, you want to interview me? Okay, you know, just really laid back, cool guy. Supreme self-confidence. That's what that guy, his body language told me. And he knows what he has to do, and he's got the ability to make it happen too.
Well, we've seen him, John, delivering in European Formula 3 and GP2, and now he's really starting to make a name for himself as he crosses over GT3 races.
One of the things not necessarily in his favour is he's very tall. And I thought maybe he might got down on one knee to do that interview, because obviously it would have been easier to have eye contact. But he's so tall, you know, he's just looking up and trying to find where to put the microphone.
He was looking to see where the wind's coming from next. It's actually swung around. It was from the northeast. It's now coming easterly across the pit. It's certainly cold out there. Now, young crew here, Jules Simkowiak, and the driver sitting on the sill of the 85 Mercedes, a driver who impressed both of us down at Misano, Fabian Schiller, just moving across. Not a lot of car racing history. Obviously, he has the obligatory karts, but he seems to have taken to this very, very well indeed. Wonderful sights looking back towards the arena section of the circuit, and that's the run towards Pilgrim's Drop. You come out of Surtees in the background. There's a course vehicle going around there. They're going to check the situation out around the circuit, and already we've got cars coming down towards pit exit. Again, that's the orange Lamborghini that is going to be one of the first one out. But let's find out what's happened to the degree of damage. We're going to go to the world of McLaren. Let's hear from Baz Linders.
Baz, now have you heard from the drivers in the car? Driver.
Yeah, Loris is okay. So he doesn't have. He's fine, but okay. Obviously, probably his pride is a little bit hurt, but he was doing a good job until then. But yeah, a bit unfortunate.
Now, what are your hopes for the weekend?
Well, we hope to be on the podium at the end of the weekend, because we had a little bit of bad luck in Misano and again in Monza. So hopefully you have the speed to have a few cars in the top 10. And then to have at least one on the podium. Top step would be great.
Well, I know you put in the work for this weekend.
No, yes. I mean, we obviously had also one car in the crash, the start crash in Monza, so there was some work there as well for the Stracker boys. But yeah, hopefully, well, we have another one here now, so again work. But hopefully that will be the last for the weekend.
Thank you very much. Good luck.
Well, as Baz turns to his left, he'll spot his car any second now coming into pit entry. The team knows it's got a big rebuild ahead of itself. But the good news there is Loris seems to be okay.
Yeah, that's the important thing, that Loris Hezemans is fine. And the Stracker team in Monza did an amazing job repairing one of their cars overnight. That was the car driven by the team owner, Nick Leventis. He had a big shunt coming out of the Ascari chicane, just basically went head on into the barrier there, and that's why he's not racing here. He damaged knee ligaments. So a lot more work, and probably not a dissimilar kind of damage to the front of the 44 McLaren. As I said, the guys did a brilliant job. They detached all the bits that attach to that monocell, which is what comprises the core construction of the McLaren. So with a stroke of good fortune, not going to say luck, good fortune, they will be able to get that car back, get it stripped down to the bare monocell, and then replace the damaged parts with new parts, and that car will be sitting in the pit lane on Sunday looking as immaculate as it was before that incident.
Well, that's the level of preparation that is just gets higher with every single season in the Blancpain GT Series. As mechanics have a chance to sit down. As you can see, the orange Lamborghini is already at pit exit. The fast lane of the pits has been open for a minute or so, and we can see the Spirit of Race Ferrari, or is that the Kessel Race Ferrari, to see coming down the pit lane to sit in behind.
What I'm slightly curious about is the recovery vehicle that had the 44 McLaren on it. Has it tried to go down the back of the pits to deliver the car back to the Stracker team? In which case, there's no way for that car then to be returned back into its garage. So slightly pointless taking it to the back. The only thing is it's enabling the session to get underway a little bit more quickly, because if they tried to unload the car in its natural garage place, that would mean the pit lane would be obscured, so it would mean we wouldn't get underway. So the track is now open, it's gone green, and this session is just under 4 minutes remaining, and 2 or 3 people are ready, and not many others. There's the 63.
Well, that's interesting. None of the teams we thought would be the front runners have gone yet from their pit area. I thought the HGP Mercedes would be lined up, ready to go, and the Grasser Lamborghinis and the Bentley. They're the 3 teams closest to pit exit. Fabrizio Crestani was the first one out of this into this second part of the first qualifying session in his Lazarus Lamborghini, behind Phil Quaife, I think, in the 55 Ferrari. And third is the Rinaldi Racing entry, Alexander Matschel at the wheel of that. Sorry, Lorenzo Cazzi. Now, just waiting for one of the 85 Mercedes, waiting to pull away. Seems to have left the pits now. Having another look any second now. This is out on track.
No,
waiting for a replay. That's not the replay, but it's coming.
The replay is about to be played in. This is live on track, so we get a view of Loris Hazelman's, hopefully, as he would have been coming out of Stirling's Bend. We'll hopefully play that in as soon as it's been teed up.
Okay, sorry, Lorenzo Cazzi is in the 55 Ferrari. The Spirit of Race Ferrari will hand over for Q2 to his teammate Phil Quaife. 27, definitely in the hands of Fabrizio Crestani, 11th fastest overall, so he's actually got quite a respectable time on the board. Of course, the Q1 times and Q2 times, the best lap for each of the drivers in these cars, get added together. They're the top, we reckon, probably 16 through to the final session. We started with 33 cars,
but the
team manager's got to get on top of that and not assume that 17th place will do, because I think we're down to 32 cars, because we've already had that 24 Lamborghini retired. And again, a twitching from Crestani, but he keeps his foot in there at the foot of Paddock Hill Bend. Now up to Druids, the hairpin at the top of the hill. I've had a few people getting it slightly wrong out of the corner there earlier, but he has got it all right now. Graham Hill Bend, a corner where we've seen a lot of people running off the circuit, and particularly this car.
Yes, but also the car looked oversteery to me coming through Paddock Hill Bend. It looked like he had to, again, just watch the back of the car trying to get away as they turned into Stirling's. He had to take some lock out and steer into it. So the balance of this 27 Lamborghini right now, not ideal. The orange one team, Lazarus, however you choose to pronounce it, looks to me as if there's a lot of front end bite and the back sort of being dragged around rather than actually using the rear of the car to control it.
I think we only have 5 cars out on circuit, but the one that interests me has just gone through Paddock Hill, down the drop and up to Druids. It's the 85 HTP Motorsport entry. All the other top runners are in their garages, but Jules Simkowiak, we saw him chatting with Fabian Schiller up around Druids, coming down. Fabrizio Crestani, of course, will be the first of these runners. Big moment for Lorenzo Cazzi over the curbs to set a flying lap in this final sort of 4-minute segment of the session. Nobody else is seeing fit to go out.
He's going to get one more flying lap, so this lap will be his first flying lap since the track's gone green, 1:25.09. That's not bad. He's 7th quickest with that time. So here's the replay. Now watch Loris Hazelman's. He didn't do it right this time. He got it wrong again a little bit earlier than we saw from the Lamborghini Gallardo, and then he again just simply a passenger slams. I mean, look at the
big
damage.
difference there, John. He went in more nose first, whereas the Lamborghini went in almost side on.
More speed, sort of right front, took the bulk of that impact back to Simkowiak in the 85 Mercedes, comes out of Sheen curve.
And I think he might be able to squeak one more lap. It's going to be very tight. I'm sure the team have worked it out.
No problem.
Because they had him held at pit exit, waiting to go. Almost nobody else out on the circuit. Yeah, 17 seconds as he goes through clearways onto Clark Curve. He'll manage it. The track will be all his own for this final flying lap. But what will the young Dutch racer Simkowiak do? At the moment, he's 9th fastest. Should maybe be improving, but he only goes up 1 position to 8th. But he has 3 seconds on the clock. Doesn't matter. He's okay to start this lap.
He's now got effectively a pretty clear lap. Not quite the entire racetrack to himself, but he's certainly not going to be impeded by traffic other than those that maybe are going slowly on there in laps. So Simkowiak has got the opportunity to put the Mercedes currently in 8th place on 125.1. Ferrari going slowly, coming off Stirling's corner. Now, was that a problem, or was that just a driver deciding to keep out of everyone's way?
It seemed quite smoky there, John.
Well, something came, he flicked up something from the bottom of the car. Couldn't tell whether that was something on the racetrack. As the 67 Ferrari tries to get inside 333, side by side coming out of clearways. Lamborghini carrying a little bit of extra speed, but as they come across start-finish line, nothing significant.
No place changes. That was Max van Spunter in the shinier Tempto Racing Lamborghini, the 333 Ferrari, not inside the top 20, so they won't change. But it was important that Simkowiak and Crestani made those quick laps to try and just gain a few more tenths on this aggregate edition. But here's the one we really wanted to watch. Through Sterling's for the final time in Q1. Down in 8th position for George Simkowiak.
Sector time is not special, no. But he might pick up something just in this final sector of the car. Oh, he's coming in. He's good. But he doesn't have to improve. He's 8th quickest, so
he did it.
Decided we've got that time. It's the banker time, and they will be not dissatisfied with that.
No, it would have probably improved their aggregate time when we get to the end of Q2 and those times are added together, maybe by a couple of tenths. And around here at Brands Hatch, where we know the top 20 or so will be covered by about 1 second. In fact, because some of the drivers didn't complete Q1, it could be more than that. But then, of course, that just pitches them into Q3, and that's where it's all going to be really, really tight. The top 16, we reckon, will go through to that.
Yep. So there we get a look at the top times from qualifying 1.
Andy Soucek top in the number 8 Bentley by 0.2 of a second. That's a big margin at Brands Hatch, but of course it was an interrupted session. Marcus Finkelhock and Andrew Watson second and third fastest in their Audi and McLaren respectively. The top Mercedes in 4th place, Felix Arias, Peter Schothorst, Jake Dennis going well in their Audi number 3. David Fuminelli stepped in as replacement for a substitute driver for Nick Leventis. Good run from him in the 42 McLaren, but of course that session didn't go all well for McLaren, because of course the number 44 into the barriers and very heavily damaged. But importantly, Loris Hazeman's not damaged, or so it seems at the moment, and he seems to be given the all clear. The car's come back, and that will take a rather long time to be given an all clear. There we go. We have probably 32 cars setting times, because we feel we started with 33, but already before the session we'd lost the number 24. But just worth pointing out, 15th place at the moment, just in the top half of the grid. Maxi Buch and Franck Pereira. They've done enough, but only just.
They've got in. There's a lot more they were going to need to do in this second round of qualification, and that's going to be no easier than the one we've just watched. And there's no reason to believe we won't see more driver errors coming either. I don't want to put the kiss on anybody in the field, but it is a place where you can get caught out very easily.
Christian Engelhardt and Mirko Bortolotti 12 seconds off. Hold on, when it comes to aggregate times, we'll get to that later, but maybe Mirko Bortolotti, the tactics they wanted to keep to themselves, wouldn't give to Dakota, aren't very good tactics.
It'll be interesting to see where the 63 Lamborghini does finally end up, but there is the 86 Mercedes back in its garage. So everybody, absolutely. So Jimmy Eriksson and Dominic Baumann.
Now, one of the things, John, is that with sessions of only 15 minutes and 7 or 8 minutes between them, it's very quick fire. And as we saw, one red flag can really just upset the entire apple cart. So when drivers talk of tactics, as a team boss, I'd actually like them, obviously not to take too much out of their time, but to go out and lay those times down, particularly on a circuit like this, where it can really bite you.
There's a lot to be said to go out at the earliest opportunity and establish a time which should be, in the opinion of your team, sufficient to get you through. On the other hand, if you want to hang back and wait for the track to come to you and roll the dice, well, that's your gamble, and some people might lose out.
This highlight's coming up now. At the start of the session, Christian Engelhardt got a bit frustrated, came out right behind one of the slower runners, and that compromised his laps early on. Now the orange one, Team Lazarus Lamborghini, wonderful slow-mo, almost front wheel coming off the circuit.
It is coming off the run.
Surtees.
Yep, it is. It's actually letting the front wheel very stiff across the front of that car by the looks of things. So there's number 8 Bentley.
Yeah, so, well, Maxime Soulet wanted a bit more speed, but going top was the important thing. Now, riding around the back of the circuit just shows how tight it can be, and it can just be that little bit too tough for you if you go over the curbs at Sterling. And for Loris Hazeman,
hold on. He was flat out on the throttle. You could see the rubber being laid as the car, you can see the marks. As the car was going from centre to the left, he was still flat out. That happened as well.
Well, this is on the restart, if you will. Lorenzo Carzi getting it wrong as he pressed to improve his time. He limped back to the pits, not too much damage. But anyhow, got away with it. But at the top of the timesheets at the end, it's Bentley, number 8, that tops the charts. 85 took a big shot, ended up 8th fastest. Q2 coming up very soon indeed. So there are the cars lined up, 32 of them. Perhaps only 31 because the 44 McLaren is tucked away at the back, and they won't be able to work on that until it's brought into the pit lane after the qualifying session is underway. One of the ACA ASP Mercedes, followed by another, coming down to try and get out to Q2 at the start.
Team manager of car 85 to stewards after Q3
That's Jules Simkowiak, Fabian Schiller, the last car out to the session. I tell you why it might be, because he came past the white line at pit exit and stopped almost in front of our commentary box. I thought there might be a car problem. He was probably just waiting to go underway. Maybe you're not allowed to stop in that little section of the track.
I don't think you're not allowed to stop on the racetrack for advantage. If you have a mechanical issue, that's a separate issue. But to stop there for your own
You can
gain.
see the white line there in front of the orange, as always, the orange one team Lazarus. The next white line is actually up towards... there's one just around the kink in front of it, just out of your shot, just goes across and then further up. And it was between the second and the third of those that the car came to a halt.
That may be a finger-wagging offence. I don't think there will be any specific penalty in terms that will affect the...
Well, they didn't instruct anyone else, so...
No.
But there we have it.
Giovanni Venturini.
And Marco Mappelli, they showed some good speed in the number 66 Lamborghini this morning in the 2 free practice sessions, so look for them.
Mappelli in particular is the standout driver in that car. Again, a car that suffered quite heavy damage back at Monza when it somehow managed to misjudge braking into the first chicane, ran into the back of one of the WRT Audis and did it, not in considerable damage. So things, there's so much, I think, pressure. The game is moving forward very rapidly. The level of competition has gone up dramatically.
Right, we're underway.
Showing up sometimes weaknesses in some drivers' abilities.
Yeah, certainly if it doesn't run according to the script, and it's a very, very tight script they have to run to. Good to see the number 11 Ferrari coming out of pit lane. Of course, that was dropped this morning. And just to confirm, I may well have confused you by saying the times were accumulated. That was in previous seasons in the Sprint Cup. Q1 and Q2 are standalone, and it's about the fastest 16 runners, the quickest 16 cars from either of those
that's much more
sense, because when you have a red flag, as someone once said to me, if your granny can't understand it, it's too complicated. I won't tell you the person's name. Alan Docking, as it happens.
Well, Alan, a great Aussie, would understand that better than most. Down, a great view, great camera work, looking down from Druids through the trees, gives you a real sense of Stephen Kane in the number 7 Bentley, and pretty quickly getting on with the job, getting those tyres back up to the operating temperature. Teams with this revised Pirelli tyre still working and trying to find out, particularly in qualifying, how to turn it on. It's a different characteristic to the tyre from last year. It's got a longer window, but it doesn't sort of switch on quite the same dramatic way that previous tyre would have done.
So what we see in our timing screens of is the order after Q1. We'll see the order after Q2, and then the top 16 cars, whichever you time. It doesn't matter if you set it in Q1 or Q2. Your best time will go through to Q3. That final 10-minute shootout for the top half of the grid. At the moment, it's advantage with the number 8 Bentley crew. Car behind it. One of the McLarens again bouncing over the... Do you not learn, drivers? That is a place that can really, really hurt you. One of your teammates has gone for a rattle down the barriers. I wouldn't have thought that was... Maybe they were thinking, I must stay off the curbs, and in thinking that, it drew them in.
I think Rob Bell is on track at the minute. He's been pretty quick in Sector 1, as we stay on board with Stephen Kane. The McLaren, some of the drivers were saying to me between sessions that they're trying to find a way to take away some of that sort of uncertainty. They're not really capable of knowing when to commit. But let's ride with Stephen down into Graham Hill Bend. Doesn't take too much curb on the inside, quite reasonable on the outside. Everything looks, to me at this point, fastest overall Sector 1.
Right, clock ticking away as we ride around this lap. Still about a third of the grid sitting in the pit lane, including all the HTP Mercedes. Looks like both of the row racing BMWs, but out on the track, Stephen Kane going down the dip. He said the purple time in the first third of the lap. Second sector comes to an end after Sterling, so he's got Westfield ahead of him. Great corner here.
Watch the inputs in the steering wheel. Everything's nice. It's a nice turn in. Very, very minute little corrections, but none of the sort of lock-to-lock stuff we've seen from some of the other onboard shots. That's indicative of what the Bentley chassis, and he's having to back out of it. He's got traffic, and he's just suddenly realised he had a fastest first sector. Nothing dramatically good in the second sector. 2 seconds, well, 1.5 seconds off. Yeah, so he's backed out of it.
He's just come out of the second sector now, so now he's looking in his mirrors as well as ahead of him. He wants that clear stretch of track as he comes down effectively into our view. Out on the back of the track, the number 3 Audi going for its flyer. That's Jake Dennis, young British driver, winner in GP3 and single seaters, moved across and is looking very, very useful indeed.
I will like that purple in the middle. He'll like it too. That's a good run for Jake Dennis. Number 3 Audi comes through clearways. Car looks comfortable, it looks confidence inspiring. on Brands Hatch, for me, that's the way you want to go. 1:24.648 and quickest so far. Pierre Dieudonné and the WRT team, passive as ever, but happy with that lap time.
Yeah, 5 cars coming out of the WRT stable. 3 of them entered by Belgian Audi Club. Number 1 Audi going very well in. Christopher Mies.
Yep.
So Enzo Ida, who shares with him, looking on from the pit garage, he will like very much what he sees. Here comes the number 1, of course, champions last year, therefore they get the one. He goes top, 1:23.857. These are the times we want to see.
Quickest lap of the day. Enzo, come on, give us a smile. You're happy with that? That's a great way to go into Q2. So good start for the number 1 Audi. Christopher Mies, 1:23.857.
4 Audis in the top 4 positions. Might be a bit of a theme going on there.
Yeah.
What can the Mercedes do by way of fighting back? This is the number 88, and we saw some great runs in that early on by Felix Sarayes. Now in the hand of Daniel Juncadella, waiting for that to deliver a time. He's down in 15th at the moment.
Mirko Bortolotti has just gone second quickest.
That might be part of his tactic, I feel.
Well, I think that's what he wasn't giving away.
Fastest in the final sector, so from the point we're looking at now, down through Clearways, down through Clark Curve, around the curving start-finish straight, that was where he was fastest of all in the 63 Lamborghini. Now the 88 Mercedes, Daniel Juncadella down in 18th place. He set the fastest middle sector of all. You can see that should get him in the top 2 or 3. In 3rd place.
Yep.
Just over a quarter of a second down on the ultimate pace. Still in the hands of Christopher Mies, the number 1 Audi. 9 minutes, just almost 10 minutes remaining in this session. It's going to be very, very quick fire. Please, everybody, stay on the island. Stay under control over those curbs on the exit.
84, whereabouts we're going to see that car. So maybe it's just coming up to go on to its first flying lap. The Lamborghini 19 behind, and of course always a frustration if you're looking for that clear lap. The 84 bounces its way over the curb on the exit of Paddock Bend, hugs the curb pretty much the entire way around the corner. Frank Pereira behind the wheel. We know that Frank Pereira is outstanding on a single lap, but the Lamborghini behind, the 19 Lamborghini, also looking strong, as we see Robin Freins has now leapfrogged up into second place in the 17 Audi. So it's Audi 1, Audi 2, Lamborghini, Mercedes, Audi, and again Audi, yes.
So we weren't too sure about Audi's form when we came here to Brands Hatch. They didn't shine early on, but they're certainly coming good at the moment. Can Mercedes fight back with the 84 crew? And certainly looking very good, but with that 19...
Not on this lap.
No, not on this lap, and the Lamborghini actually almost having to back off. It's getting very, very close to the tail of the 84 Mercedes, the car that dominated the opening round at Misano, but right now not looking quite as nimble as it could, and this certainly will be affecting the Lamborghini behind. 19 being driven at the moment by Norbert Siedler.
I just wonder, are Mercedes just trying to get away with a lap in this second section of qualifying without resorting to a new set of tyres, so that they've got new sets of tyres for the qualifying race on Sunday and then the second race later in the afternoon? So that would be a great play if they could do sufficient to get through Max Book.
Well, he's enjoying it in the pits, but it's not his Mercedes at the top of the charts.
Frank has got it up to 7th quickest.
Daniel Juncadella now top, 1:23.838, so 19/1000ths of a second, best than number 1 Audi of Christopher Mies. Mirko Bortolotti now down in 3rd, and a 4th car below 1:24. That's Robin Freins in the 17 Audi. The one with the green flash up over the top, though, is the number 2 Audi, and that needs to find a bit of speed, because at the moment Will Stevens is down outside the top 10 in 16th position.
Kelevitz in the Ferrari comes across the line. The 333 car goes 5th, quickest, fastest of the Pro-Am. Suddenly the Ferraris come alive. That's a great time by the 333 Ferrari.
No wonder Alexander Matschel very much likes having this young German alongside him, because Kelevitz is really a very tidy driver indeed. Now let's ride on board. This will be Mirko Bortolotti. Will he be the master of brands down the hill from Druids in the 63 Lamborghini at the moment, sitting on the top of the time charts, having just taken the lead by 1/10 of a second. 1:23.730 seconds.
I think that Mirko Bortolotti will be pretty happy with that time. I think he's going to cruise around, keep out of everyone's way where possible. Oh, the Audi just ahead running the curb on the exit of Surtees. So this is not a flying lap from the Italian in the 63 Lamborghini. He may just decide, well, I've done a good time, I'm happy with that. That will get us clearly into the final session of qualifying. I don't need to use these tyres anymore. We'll save them. They will be either the start race set or the set that will they change onto when they make the mandatory driver wheel change midway through the qualifying race on Sunday.
Looking at the number 26 Audi Sansalot Racing, and it's Christopher Haase on board, down in 13th place at the moment, but that means he's only just under 3/4 of a second down on the ultimate pace, but he needs to get get it wound up. He's starting to improve his lap time, and I think we could see him inside the top 10 in his Audi. This is a car that crept up pretty much silently through the race and finished in the top 6, right on the tail of the battle for second place at Misano. So the speed is there.
Stays down
stays
in 14th,
position.
surprising.
So who's on the move? Christopher Mies in the pits, but don't forget he set the fastest opening sequence of the lap, opening sector of the lap, and it came to nothing. He reported to the pits.
So Mirko Bortolotti, last lap at 1 minute 30.8, still on track. Juncadella into the pits.
So we're looking to see, we're just talking about the top 16. Christopher Haas, I talked about him moments ago, he's in 16th place. Next one for the drop. Time of plenty, 5.5 minutes remaining in this session. Certainly the smiles on the face of the 63 Lamborghini crew. The 75 Audi is just outside that 16th position. He's just moved on his time charts the wrong way. Philippe Salicano has gone backwards and he's not got improvements. He's now 18th. He's got to get in the top 16. He's got to find not a great deal of time, but these times are going to keep on changing. He needs to find 1/10 of a second. Let's call it 2/10 for good luck. And that will put him back among the qualifiers. But right now, outside the mark.
Yeah, and he's already got 4 other cars have moved into that top 16. Alvaro Brent, the best of them, up in 5th place in the 58 McLaren. That's hopefully some cheer for the Straka team. They've got one car they're going to do an all-nighter on.
I just want to mention a mark that isn't in the top 20 at the moment. Bentley. We saw them have good pace. Just saw, I think, 23 on the windscreen of one of the cars as it went past us, and that means 23rd position. That's way below the 16th needed. And bad news for them. There's a Ferrari in front of them that should not be as quick through Graham Hill Bend, being caught out behind the number 11 Ferrari. But in fact, that Ferrari has been going, well, it's down the order a bit now, but was going better early on. The best Ferrari at the moment is still the 333, and that's in 9th place.
Well, the 8 Bentley now has been demoted down to 20th position. So that's going to be, actually it's 18th on your time and scoring, 18th in mine as well.
Yeah, in fact,
so
that's a promotion.
Position. Yeah,
that was outside the top 20.
Yeah. Dominic Baumann on the bubble in 16th place with an improvement. So Max, the number 8 Bentley, Andy Suchek is the one that really, of the, you might say, the top team cars, needs to find sometime somewhere. Jesse Krohn in the BMW, he's just leapt up to 4th quickest on a 1:23.8. So we've now got 6 cars under the 1:24 second lap.
Yeah, and 16th position, the final one that will make the cut through to Q3. 0.56 of a second down on the ultimate pace. It's close. Up top, it's 0.108 of a second. But the gap between Bortolotti, the 63 Lamborghini, and Daniel Juncadella, the 25 Audi, trying to get a tram pod to see if it can improve. But at the moment, that is not making the mark that it was hoping for.
See, 88 comes through. Personal best. Top 10 comfortably. Oh yes, second.
Yeah,
good run.
That's been looking good. It was a very strong pairing, Felix Araiz and Daniel Juncadella, the 88 crew, at the opening round. The sister car, the 90 from Raffaele Marciello and Michael Meadows, also looking very good indeed. This is one of the Pro-Am sister cars, 87, riding up around the top of the corner. That's Jules Gounon, but don't forget he was 5th quickest at one session this morning. Haven't seen much good yet from McLaren.
Well, the 58 number,
until that.
They were up into 5th. They've just been demoted by 1 place. They're down to 6th place. That's Alvaro Parent in the McLaren Racing Orange with the green identification on it. So Alvaro has done what he's there to do, drag that car up into the top 10.
But his teammate Rob Bell is on the cusp. He's in 16th position out on the circuit. Needs to wind it up. The 58 is sitting rather better on the timesheets. 6th overall for Alvaro Parent. But this lap, not...
he's okay. He's
fine.
So he's just come into the pits. They've done what they need to do. So we're looking to see where else any improvements going to come. And Baumann has down to 18th, Bentley 20th, car 27, lap 7 cancelled for track limits.
Well, this is Gustavo Yacoman. That car has been off in front of us more than almost all the other cars put together at Graham Hill Bend. They've carried on doing it. They've lost one of their best laps out there. Number 7 Bentley needs to get, well, he's gained 1 position. Stephen Kane moves it up to 15th. He's in the mix.
I was going to say he's gotten through, but the Ferrari just slammed the door closed. So Stephen Kane has now got 1 minute 40 plus seconds to complete this lap, get round before the checkered flag comes out. He's going to try and back up and find some space, but the danger is he'll get caught and overtaken and there'll be more traffic. So really, he'll get back in plenty of time and get to do 1 final lap before the checkered flag comes out. But nail-biting time for both the Bentleys. In fact, Stephen Kane 15th quickest, so he's just about in. But where's the sister car, the number 8?
Well, it's outside the top 20. You need to be in the top 16 to come out and play. The 84 Mercedes, the winner at Misano, 11th fastest at the moment. Safe, but mind you, you lose a handful of cars gain 0.2 of a second. Not safe enough.
He's going upwards. Here again, top 10 comfortably.
Double green, about third, do you reckon?
7th.
7th.
I was going to say 7th.
Were you?
Yeah, I was. Genuinely.
1 minute 24.024. So the top 7 cars covered by 0.3 of a second. Now the 333 Ferrari, that was sitting well inside the top 10. It slid down to 12th in the hands of Daniel Karvitz. He needs to put in one more quick lap, I would suggest. Is he safe with 30 seconds or so until the checkered flag will be flown? But of course that could be 15 or so cars coming around to be able. He'll be able to start one more flying lap, but
yes.
Quite soon.
He's got plenty of half a minute to go as he comes across start-finish line. As Stephen Kane is the number 7 Bentley, we were waiting to see. He had plenty of time when he backed out of it. As we go back to the 86 Mercedes, so it's going to have a little lot into the checkered flag will be shown before he gets down. He might just go straight back into the pit lane. He ain't going to make it across the line with 5 seconds to go. It's going to be a very fine call. No, the line
just
misses it by about 3 seconds. So he takes the checkered flag, only 22nd position, and that will be a disappointment.
Certainly will, because we saw in race trim that was the car that went up from 20th place to really start challenging for serious points. The 26 Audi also trying to nail its place, but at the moment not inside.
Personal bests in both first and second sector. Comes across the line, 7th.
7th.
Christopher Haas has dragged that one out.
Because almost all the top 10 were sitting.
Stephen Kane.
Pit lane. Stephen Kane desperately needs to improve because he's the driver just outside the cut. He's only 5.504 of a second away. He needs to find 5,000ths of a second and he'll be able to go up, but he hasn't improved at either point unless he's very close to his best. He had a jink going around that orange one team Lazarus entry.
He's going to be 17th.
Okay. He's just outside. He didn't improve and he was 1,000ths of a second away from the cut. So
I thought he was going to just sneak inside, just get below that 1 minute 24 second barrier. Well, that is great disappointment indeed for the Bentley team. Stephen Kane 18th. We don't even know, our timing and scoring doesn't show us right now where the number 8 car is of Suchek and Sule.
Well, it's not in the pit lane. Still on. In fact, it's at the sister car coming in. That could be Andy Suchek coming in. So no Bentleys in the top half of the field ahead of Q3. Also, there are probably some other people we're missing. The 86 Mercedes has not made the cut. We mentioned that. And in fact, the first car that didn't make the cut ended up being Jules Gounon.
And disappointingly for all the British fans that are watching, Jake Dennis, who looks so good in Q1, the number 3 Audi, down in 18th position.
Well, bragging rights after Q2 and Q1 are the combined times, the best times from each session taken. And Christian Engelhardt, Mirko Bortolotti, they have the advantage, but it's scrubbed at only by 10/1000ths of a second from Felix Sorales and Daniel Juncadella in the 88 Mercedes. Enzo Ida and Christopher Mies, their number 1 Audi, champions last year, winners at Brands Hatch last year, right in the mix in 3rd place. Marcus Baltala and Jesse Krohn in their BMW 4th, and Stuart Leonard and Robin Frieds in their Audi, number 17, 5th fastest. Best of the McLarens in 6th place, Ben Barnicoat and Alvaro Parent, but the cut-off point is behind the car that finished 16th, the number 99 Mercedes, sneaked in at the end with Philippe Eng on board. Less than half a second down on the fastest time. It is so super close at Brands Hatch, but there's some famous faces outside the cut. The Bentleys, the Winkelhock Stevens Audi, the Fessler Vantor Audi, and the Watson Rob Bell McLaren haven't made the cut.
If you don't get that one lap, you're at the mercy of the remaining fields, and 16 cars very, very closely. Surprises all the way through the fields.
But look how close it was. The sessions were interrupted, but the fastest time to the slowest, 32nd position at 1.682 seconds. It is nothing, and down to 25th position within 1 second.
9/10 of a second behind the quickest car, the 63 Lamborghini, 25th. I have to say, that's a nightmare at Brands.
Well, some people might be thinking we're heading towards reverse grids, but let's go down the 63 Lamborghini. Christian Engelhardt.
Christian, Mirko fastest again. but the competition is really tough.
Yeah, it's crazy. The session, when you look at the results, we have 20 cars in 5/10. I think that's a new record. It's unbelievable. It's so tight, and now all depends on Q3. Q2 really good for us, really good lap, and I hope he can do the same again.
Do you think Mirko can put this on pole for the qualifying race?
I'm sure he can, but the competition is tough. Everybody's doing their best, so we see where we end up after this session, but of course it's really good already to be P1 in Q2.
Power to you both. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, they did well. It was a massive scramble out on the circuit, and Enzo Ida, he'll be pleased too. They were third fastest, he and Christopher Mies. So that is the first part of the job done. Now, if it was close in the first 2 qualifying sessions, it could be even closer when we come to this final
The difference is there's only going to be 17 cars on track. So you've taken out almost half the field. So your chances of getting a clear lap have, in effect, doubled. But it doesn't work like that.
Oh, well, 17 cars have been nominated for going through, not 16, because we did originally start with 33, so it's going to be the top half. So number 87 was the car that squeaked in. That was Jules Gounon in the Pro-Am Mercedes from ASP that he shares with Jean-Luc Bobelic. But right now, Mirko Bortolotti, you've seen the eyes out of the helmet. You now see the eyes through the visor hole of the helmet.
That is pure adrenaline, pure concentration. Mirko did a great job, quickest of all, by just 1/100th of a second from the 88 Mercedes-Benz. He knows he's got a fight in his hands. He knows what he's got to do. He's got the pace in that 63 Lamborghini to lock out pole position.
Now, in Q2, it was all about the second driver, the second driver nominated for each car, going out to see what they could do in terms of reducing the lap time, the best lap time for their entries, wanting to be in the top half of the field so they could go out and play in Q3. The number 1 Audi really started to show its hands in the hand of Christopher Mies, all watched on by the crew at Team WRT. 84 Mercedes kept itself back, and then went out, and when it really counted, Franck Pereira wowed it well inside the top 10. At that point, they put the car away. Mirko Bortolotti and Christian Engelhardt, they have been such a strong pairing here, and it was Bortolotti's turn to try and find a gap in the traffic. And 88 Mercedes really got loose, but importantly, Daniel Duncadella did not drop it. But for the Bentleys, time simply ran out. So, frantic action, brief pause, frantic action, and then we're going to have another brief pause in which we are now, and we're waiting to see the top half of the field after Q1 and Q2 have been combined, going out to play for this 10-minute shootout. Who will be on pole? We saw the top 17 cars covered by a whisker under half a second, 0.495 of a second. Daniel Juncadella, we saw him going out wide over the curbs at Stirling's, but somehow keeping it on the black stuff without putting it into the barriers.
Who was it interviewed in the pit lane that in the Mercedes said, we don't think it's really suited to Brands Hatch? Well, did anybody tell Daniel Juncadella that his car is not? I mean, within 100th of a second of the Lamborghini. So Mercedes are in the races, make no mistake, as is Lamborghini, as is Audi, as is BMW, as is McLaren. I mean, you go by the brands, it's almost not quite 2 by 2, but close. Franck Pereira is in the car, and he's going to do the qualifying. It's interesting that Maximilian Buch is not. Some people will tell you that Franck Pereira is probably the quicker of the 2 drivers in a single lap, and that's the reason why Franck Pereira will be behind the wheel of number 84.
Well, that's a massive accolade, John. To be compared against Maxi Buch, we think he is now effectively the gold standard. But Raffaele Macchiello, you probably couldn't keep him out of the car.
No surprise, he's behind the wheel. I mean, I have to say, he's one of the drivers that come into the Blancpain Sprint and Endurance Championship this year that I actually enjoy watching, because he's a racer. He's got all those qualities and values that racing drivers have, not sometimes competitors who drive racing cars. Now, there's no fashion shoot for Maximilian Buch. That was just a quiet personal moment we saw there.
We intruded upon.
We probably stepped into something.
We bring them to the public around the world.
Something private and personal.
So, Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit, not raced on as much as a lot of the drivers would like. It's a very, very tricky stretch of tarmac, and we absolutely love reporting on the action here, but it's very good. It's hard enough to make a good lap, but even harder to find space when it comes to race. You've got to put yourself on pole to have a really good tilt to win victory here.
It's a big, big commitment. The teams are going to use new tyres for this session, principally those teams that think that they're capable of getting the front 2 or 3 rows of the grid. Jules Gounon in the 87 Mercedes, son of
Jean-Marc.
Jean-Marc, yeah. As we pointed
Now
out.
also we pointed out how vital it is to try and get on the first couple of rows here at Brands Hatch.
Totally,
But it
utterly,
really,
completely.
with it's such a difficult task to do the overtaking here, it also puts a huge amount of pressure on the pit crews when it comes to the pit stop in the middle of the race. They could make or break a driver's race.
There are teams that are traditionally outstanding in the driver change, the wheel change, getting the car serviced, turned around and out. You can struggle to make a couple of seconds over a driver stint. A team can save you 4 or 5 seconds with a really efficient, clean, quick pit stop. And that's what every team in the pit lane realizes. They know they can lose more in the pit lane than they can make up on the racetrack.
Right, session underway. And the number 1 Audi is the first out of the pit lane, and no doubt that'll be Christopher Mies on board. 84 is following out, and Franck Pereira, the driver, we just had a little chat about there, John. He is the driver now considered to be the better of the 2 qualifiers, and to be better than Maxi Buch in qualifying, that is really quite something. Christopher Mies, though, what a star in the number 1 Audi.
It's an interesting situation in the Mercedes HTP team, because Franck Pereira, we know, has always qualified exceptionally well. Maximilian Buch, believe me, is mega quick. But if HTP think that they are better putting their faith in Pereira, particularly knowing how valuable pole position, front row grid position at Brands Hatch is, well, we saw a rather sanguine-looking Maximilian Buch in a rather moody photographic model type shot a minute ago. Maybe he's not over the moon about the team's decision, but of course, it's a team sport. And if the team feel that your co-driver might do a better job than you, get over it.
Get over it, it gives you a better chance of
Correct.
victory. That, of course. Now, what you don't want is cars close together on the circuit. In 63, Mirko Bortolotti, he hasn't got a problem. The other car is right behind him. But for the Sansalot Racing Audi, I would suggest it hang back a little bit.
Yes, I suspect that Bortolotti had just come out of the pit lane and the Audi was maybe on a flying lap, which is a frustration, but that's part of judging when you go out. In fairness, if that was the situation, Bortolotti would have been advised to keep out of the way as Christopher Mies comes across to compete.
Well, this will be the first flying lap in the session. Best time so far, 1:23.730. Will we see those shattered? Maybe not on this first lap, but next time around.
Who has got fastest first and sector times? But of course, it was a lap that was effectively an out lap. So Christopher Mies comes across the line.
A lot of jockeying for position on
it's
the circuit. That's Christian Mies on his second flying lap once the other cars out of the way. Sorry, his first flying lap, his second lap out from the pits. The number 1 Audi. Don't forget, victory here last year, one of the key components towards the sprint championship title that he didn't get to share because he didn't get quite as many points as Enzo Ida, but as a pair they were really fantastic towards the end of last season.
And here, undoubtedly, that partnership of Christopher Mies and this gentleman Enzo Ida worked exceptionally well, and Enzo has moved from being an AM to a pro-am. Basically, he would be right on the cusp of being a pro driver, except that he actually does a day job. He's not just a racing driver, he's got a proper job. This car, fastest overall first sector. Let's see what happens up in the second sector. We're coming up to it just now, so the time will be fastest overall in the second sector. Ferrari needs to get out of the way. The 333 could have a bearing on whether Christopher Mies can finish this lap. It's picked up its pace.
It's far enough clear. Just far enough clear.
Just about. But you don't need that type of interference. Mies comes across start-finish line. Will it be a sub 124 lap when he comes across the line? 23.844.
Okay, that is in the ballpark. I think we will see quicker, but he's got that in early on. 5.5 minutes remaining. The 84 Mercedes, 125.089, so 23.844, looking good.
Maxi's blinking. Well, that was
maybe I would have been quicker.
Maybe I would have been quicker indeed. But again, I think it's part of the way teams are approaching this new Pirelli tyre, that they don't have that very rapid gain in lap time, but equally the rapid drop off. It's a much more level playing field. Mirko Bortolotti,
pink followed by pink, fastest of all in the first and second of the 3 timing sectors.
Doesn't he look it?
Yeah, very clean on the exit of Sterling's, the corner that really has got in the way of some of the drivers. 2 cars have taken to the barriers there, but certainly the 63 car, fastest of all after Q1 and 2 combined, should be going top now. 122.891. Whoa, what a lap.
Blown the doors off the entire field. Nearly over a second quicker than what is second place.
Just under 0.953. Let's call it a second between friends.
Round it up. Let's round it up.
Who's coming in?
90 Mercedes.
Well, he's at almost exactly a second. Very close between second and third, but that lap by Mirko Bortolotti, absolute magic lap.
Screamer, an absolute, and the body language of the 63 Lamborghini literally said, look at me, how quick am I? The Mercedes isn't giving that indication. Frank Pereira, nothing like the body language from Mirko Bortolotti.
Well, he's down in 12th place, just waiting for him to complete this lap. Briefly, we had Lewis Williamson up to 4th. He's down to 5th and stays in 12th place, the number 84 Mercedes.
What did I just tell you? Sorry, I didn't mean to tell you. I just observed the body language of the Mercedes did not look like it was quick.
Right, he might not be fit because his knee's injured.
Robin
Friends has just gone second.
Yeah.
0.65 of a second. And behind Marco Mappelli, we've been talking him up in the 66 Lamborghini. Looking at the 75 Audi. Coming round now, Philippe Salicardo down in 12th position, does not improve. Clock starting to tick away. The 88 Mercedes, that at the moment is, you have to look down to 15th place of the 17 runners for Daniel Juncadella. He has to improve, but he doesn't have green on the screen. He's not going to improve this time around.
And we've got Mirko Bortolotti yet again, purple in that first sector. Doesn't improve on that last lap.
3 1,000s down, quick and consistent. That is looking really fearsomely strong.
Talk about putting the boot in, and the Mercedes all over the shop. Daniel Juncadella, how did you keep that from going in the wall? Wow, well, that's got to be save of the day. Talk about goal of the day. That was save of the day. From the young Spanish driver.
Well, he'd already had a little mistake there earlier in the day. That was heart-stopping. And suddenly up into his Jesse Crone, the BMW is really well suited to Brands Hatch. He goes just outside half a second off pole. That was a save. You have to feel, with just under 3 minutes on the clock, that Daniel Juncadella won't be able to calm down enough to make another serious
talk
lap.
about Juncadella calming down. What about the commentary booth? We were absolutely thinking, not another car in the wall at this part of the racetrack.
Well, you can see his tyre trail.
Unbelievable. That's got to be the highlight and the highlights of the day.
Well, having seen a couple of tumblers there, that looked every much like the third in the sequence, but it wasn't, so what a save. 99 at the moment, the sister car, the sister BMW is second fastest. 99 is not so close. He's 0.7 of a second down. He's only 0.2 down on his teammate, but his teammate is second.
Christopher Hasse is in 4th place. Personal best first sector, nothing going to do much. He slowed out of it. He's back right out of it.
Well, I'm trying to see the flag situation around. You'd have to. Well, there's no debris on the track.
No, he just
stopped to admire the skid marks.
Watch again on the exit. Look at Daniel Juncadella. He's on the throttle hard. He's not lifting. He decides, I'm going to drive through this problem. Look at the rubber being laid. Wow, Pirelli. Look at that magnificent 2 uniform black stripes on the racetrack.
Eat your heart out, drift racers. They've got nothing on what was just put down there by Daniel Juncadella. Right, the clock is ticking away in the final 2 minutes of Q3. At the moment, it's Mirko Bortolotti, the 63 Lamborghini top, the 74 Audi not making the impression it would necessarily want. Christopher Hasse, that's Frank Stippler coming through in the 74, but outside the top 10.
But Juncadella, in spite of that heart and mouth moment, has improved up to 5th place. So in spite of probably taking about 2 mil of rubber off his left rear tyre, has gone quicker. Christopher Mies up to 2nd place now in the number 1 Audi.
Well, cue smiling face of Enzo Ida, because that was a great lap. But there I was saying Juncadella had no way in the final 3.5 minutes to calm down. Maybe he doesn't need to calm down, but certainly that was a great lap.
Norbert Siedler in the Lamborghini number 19 in 4th place.
First and 4th for Lamborghini at the moment. 1 minute left on the clock. Lamborghini Land looking very excited indeed. Christian Mies, that was a good lap. Exactly half a second down on that astonishing pole lap. We think we can call it the pole lap from Mirko Bortolotti in the 63 Lamborghini, who is making a move. Not much improvement on our timing screen. Frank Pereira
up to 10th place, but no pace. We would have expected pace from that number 84 Mercedes. Doesn't, again, we go back to what we saw maybe 5 minutes ago. The car didn't look quick, but that was a lap that he was preparing for. So as we look at the 19 car, no improvement on the last lap of 124.4 against that car's best 23.5.
Okay, Frank Pereira, we said he's 10th. He just set his fastest first sector of all. If he can find a 10th of a second, he can move up to as high as about 4th position. Believe it or not, that's all he's got to find. His middle sector wasn't his best. He's coming around behind the Rinaldi Racing Ferrari. The checkered flag won't be out just yet. He crosses the finish line. The checkered flag will come out.
Nothing. 25.9.
So he stayed almost identical to his previous time. It's so super tight.
And he might as well give up, because he's not going to get past the Ferrari. He's going to lose time. And I would think WRT are looking pretty happy. Enzo Ide thinks, yeah, I'll take that. We're going to be on the left-hand side of the track as we do the rolling start. So you've got marginal advantage in that you can go a little bit longer and deeper before you make your commitment. But make no mistake, this car has been absolutely, it's just knocked the stuffing out of the rest of the field by half a second. Now, I mean, that's just plain rude.
Yeah, 1 second covers first down to 16 of the 17 runners, but the gap between first and second is half of that interval. It's half a second, so a huge part of first and fourth for the GRT Grasser Racing team. They will be delighted with that. They came here on a high after victory in the endurance round at Monaco, and Daniel Juncadella entertained us like nobody else. He also scared us like nobody else. That was the sister car, number 90, with Raffaele Marcello, who was as high as second overall.
But the
down to
87 Mercedes Gugno has just leapfrogged the 333 Ferrari to be the lead Pro-Am car in 13th place. So the lead Pro-Am and the second Pro-Am start side by side on the 7th row of the grid. Mirko, look at your eyes. It's all sinking in. Great job. Focused, knew what he had to do, got in, delivered, job done.
Yeah, only Mirko knows what level of risk he took on that lap. But
And
the car looks so balanced.
He'll have Mama's meatballs, tomato sauce and spaghetti for dinner tonight.
Not stereotyping, John. Sounds rather good, actually. So, Q1 had a little hiccup, Q2 was very quick fire, and Q3 only 10 minutes, the top half of the qualifiers, and there is the outcome. 1 minute 22.891 seconds for Mirko Bortolotti. What a lap, and look at that interval, half a second. Bear in mind the top 16 cars were covered by just twice that, 1 second. Enzo Eder, last year's champion, Christopher Mies. Thank you, Christopher Mies there, the number 1 Audi into second place. Marcus Paltela and Jesse Krohn, quietly efficient, just put in the quick times when they need it in the BMW, third fastest. And the second of the Lamborghinis, Perez Compang and Seidler, they'll be delighted with fourth place. And Roman Monti and Christopher Haase, very handy in fifth place. And then right down at the tail of the top half of the field, we have the number 75 ISR Audi. Couldn't quite pull it together in the hands of Philip Salicada. But as I say, just over 1 second away from the ultimate pace. Remove our pole man Mirko Bortolotti, and it's very, very close behind.
Well, it's more as we would have anticipated, but that lap, the 1 minute 22.8, scintillating lap time from the Grasser Racing Lamborghini driver. And I mean, what a joy to be caught the end of it. And I mean, I just love to see cars being driven with that degree of commitment.
Well, let's hear it down from the pits. Christian Engelhardt.
Christian, first of all, congratulations. Can you believe that lap time?
Yeah, crazy. We didn't believe it. We were like overwhelmed when we saw the lap time. We never expected a lap time like this possible. So Mirko must have done everything perfect on that lap.
Let's hope you can keep this up for the race. Good luck for tomorrow. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Well, thank you to Dakota down there speaking to Christian Engelhardt. He'll be delighted that his partner in crime, if you will, Mirko Bortolotti, what a lap. So let's look at the highlights of Q3. Well, this is qualifying as a whole. That was Christian Engelhardt we were seeing out there on the circuit. Bentley, we thought they might hold their hand. That was a good lap from Andy Soucek, but as we went on through qualifying, it was clear that the pace seemed to be in the hands of the Lamborghinis. And this, unfortunately, is Loris Hazeman's getting it wrong at the corner that's catching them out, the exit of Sterling's. And that was a big hit for the 44 Stracker Racing McLaren. And hopefully that can be real. We gather that Loris is fine, but of course, with so much debris on the circuit, the red flag had to be brought out. When the cars went back out onto the circuit, it was a case of seeing who could deliver, and certainly Christopher Mies started to look very good in the number 1 Audi, so a few little smiles down there. But it was the pace of Mirko Bortolotti in the 63 Lamborghini that really started to catch the eye. And the 88 Mercedes over the curbs at Sterling's, and that wasn't its wildest ride down there. And the clock ran out and went against Bentley, traffic in the way. They did not make the cut for the top half of the grid. And then Christopher Mies started to deliver all over again. He put the number 1 Audi right at the sharp end of the field. It ended up in second place overall. But Mirko Bortolotti, what a lap he put in for pole position. 84 Mercedes, that was fastest of all, took victory at Misano in the opening round. Doesn't have the answers this time around. And how's this for a bucking Bronco moment? The biggest save of the weekend from Daniel Juncadella in the 88 Mercedes. But that session belonged to one driver, Mirko Bortolotti.